Oh, okay, everyone. Welcome to another episode of No Buts About It. It is a heartbreaking episode for both Chus and I. You might have been wondering, I did have some people actually text me this and ask if we were quitting the podcast after the Thursday night football game that the Bengals had, because I never reacted, never really said anything about it. I was just Thursday happened, obviously, the game. Then Friday, I was very emotional, not like crying, just I was very reactionary. And I was like, Chus, you're going to need to be on, or else this is going to be a 30-minute rant of me just yelling incoherently about the Ravens and the Bengals. And it was just going to be a mess. I have since slightly gathered my thoughts.
I'm glad.
First narrative that was being pushed. Logan Wilson is a dirty player. That's what they were saying. He injured Lamar Jackson. He injured Mark Andrews, injured Odell Beckham Jr. And when I was getting these texts from people who were saying, Logan Wilson sucks. He's such a dirty player. I can't believe he's the next Vontaze Burfict. I was like expecting all these I was like, something is wrong with Logan Wilson, because Logan Wilson is not that type of player at all. I was like expecting something wild to go on, because I wasn't able to watch the game during the actual broadcast. I was doing something else, but I rewatched it later and avoided everything other than what people texted me. And I was like, geez, I'm like kind of worried about Logan Wilson now. It sounded like he's going on like a serial killer spree. And I watched the Mark Andrews one. I was like, that was just a regular hip drop tackle. I mean, not the best way to tackle someone, but people do that all the time. The Lamar Jackson, he fell a little weird, maybe held onto his ankle a little long, but again, it wasn't like he had him out of bounds and then body slammed him or something. And then Odell, it was just a normal tackle as well. So,
Odell was also very fragile. So I mean, I feel like we can put that out a little bit. I mean, I feel like the players that did get hurt aren't like the most like non-injury prone people. I mean, they're both like Lamar Jackson, very fragile. Odell Beckham Jr. also very fragile. So I mean, for me to like put in a perspective here, like I didn't rewatch any of the hits, but like I feel like with those two, I mean, anybody could have hit them. Like you could have like literally said, you know, freaking Myles Garrett could have hit them. You know, like Myles Garrett could have went in, hit Lamar. Lamar would have been out for however long. I don't even know if Lamar's going to be out long term, if
Lamar
at all.
Came back into the game.
Yeah, so like it obviously didn't matter. So it's not even like, you know, because I mean, like sometimes they go back into the game and then they end up being injured for a couple of weeks afterwards just because they want to push themselves to win, and then it doesn't matter anyway. But I mean, he's like Mark Andrews. Yeah, he might be out long term, stuff like that. But like a lot of these guys, like, you know, anybody could have hit them. Like Logan Wilson just happened to hit all three of them. So it just happened to be Logan Wilson that hit all three of them. It could have been Myles Garrett. It literally could have been just any single person. It literally could have been Jordan Battle on your team. Like literally, like it could have been Battle, and then Battle's like, oh yeah, that rookie is getting, you know, he's a dirty player, you know, like it could have been anybody. I mean, I feel like it's very, very targeted. Yeah. But I mean, that's just me. I'm sure there's going to be some very angry Ravens fans in the comments after that.
Logan had no personal fouls. He has no personal fouls on his career that I can find or remember. And he has been a phenomenal player for the defense. He was a draft steal in 2020. I mean, come on. I think people don't know who he is. And then they saw him in primetime doing that. And then they're like, oh, this guy's just dirty. This is just the way he plays all the time. No. Second thing, though, that was making me mad and was annoying me. The idea that the Bengals sent Joe Burrow out already injured and did not disclose it on the injury report. Now, the reason this idea was getting spread, and I don't know if the NFL has concluded their investigation or not. I think it's a witch hunt. But the photo that the Bengals posted of Joe Burrow getting off the plane, or the video, had Joe Burrow with something on his wrist, his right wrist. and it kind of looks like a brace. However, here was my initial theory, was Joe also had an iPad in his hand, which is not the official tablet of the NFL. Microsoft Surface is. So Joe Burrow having that in his hand looks really bad for the NFL, and I thought someone might have stepped in and said, hey, this is stupid. And I thought it was like a stylus glove that NFL players use, or that people use to write on iPads and tablets easier. That was my initial theory. Now Joe Burrow has come out and admitted to wearing it and said it was a compression glove that he wears when he's flying. And then it just so happened that during the game, and you can see the injury happen, people just aren't using their critical thinking skills. I'm not going to apologize for that because it's true. All you have to do is do some 2 + 2 = 4 here. Joe Burrow throws the ball and it then immediately feels pain. And you're like, wow, that's weird. That's a non-contact injury. Go back to the play before. Jadeveon Clowney lands on top of him. And you can see, and I'm not saying it was a dirty tackle or a dirty sack or anything like that. Maybe a roughing the passer just because how loose they've been with calling that, but I can understand not calling it too. Guess what wrist you can see bent backwards? Shocking. His right wrist.
Joseph Burrow.
He got up, threw a screen pass to Joe Mixon. That was all he had left before the pain was just too much. And then he goes out of the game, and he's out for the season. So we've got Jake Browning now, and we're going to put the negative in the past for the Cincinnati Bengals. Yes, Joe Burrow's out for the season. Yes, I might have wanted to cry. Yes, the Bars were doing very well on Friday afternoon after the news was announced in Cincinnati. But we're going to look past that because there were some good things that I liked about that game.
All right.
Miles Murphy,
Okay.
who I have trash talked on this show multiple times, who I have said was a waste of a first-round pick. He still hasn't made me think, hey, this guy should have been our first-round pick yet. But he had some good moves on Lamar Jackson. And he contained Lamar Jackson quite a bit. And that's hard to do. So I liked that. And then Chus is going to love this. Jordan Battle led.
He had a lot of tackles. He
led the defense in tackles. He had a couple big plays. Definitely a great performance. And when your star quarterback goes down and you're kind of in the position the Bengals are, this is what you got to look at. You got to look at the young guys. What can the young guys do? Is this going to be a kind of training session for them basically these next few weeks? And then we know what we have going into next year. Jake Browning didn't look terrible, so maybe we have a Nick Foles run. Not betting on it, not thinking that's what's going to happen.
I don't know about that. We'll see.
I don't think it'll happen either. But I'm also not one of the doomers who thinks that Jake Brown is the worst person to ever touch a football.
No, I mean, I'm sure there's probably way worse people that have touched footballs before. I mean, I didn't see that end of the game or that part of the game where, that's why I barely knew that Lamar Jackson even went back in. I just out of the loop for that game. I've been really out of the loop this weekend with games and stuff. I mean, I've watched some, but I even only watched the Steelers up until half. But we'll get into that later. But keep going.
I really liked the game plan that the Bengals had going into the game. I thought it was working well. I thought they hung with the Ravens for a while until Burrow's injury, obviously. I think Frank Pollock needs to go, though, the offensive line coach, and I'm going to do an entire video on that probably in the offseason, just because I think all the blame for the Bengals offensive line is being put on the players, but the players have been different every year, so that doesn't make much sense. The only real consistent thing has been Frank Pollock, the offensive lines coach. So probably make a video about that, talking about that a little bit. But I'm excited for the young guns that we've seen. Cam Taylor-Britt's been awesome. Jordan Battle has been great. Miles Murphy might actually be good. DJ Turner's been awesome. Yoshi and Charlie Jones have been good. Let's see what these young guys have got, and maybe win a few games. Maybe mess around and win a few games with Jake Browning at quarterback. We're going from JB9 to JB6.
All right, cool. Yeah, I mean, I have nothing else to say about the Bengals. I gave my condolences to Josh when I heard that Joe Burrow was going to be out for the season, because I know he had very high hopes that the Bengals were going to miraculously never lose another game this season. So to see that come crumbling down, I felt very bad and very unfortunate that cannot happen anymore, more than likely. But I mean, I guess it's not. Yeah, you really did jinx it, and I feel really bad for Cincinnati
because I said that, and then in the video with Stan the Jet fan, when we were talking about the Thursday night game, Stan was more hyped about it than I was. I was like, I think something bad's going to happen. I don't think this is going to go well. And
Why would you say that? Why would you say that?
I can't remember if I said it during the actual recording, but Dion asked me either before or after we recorded, which go check out that video if you haven't. But Dion from Dose of Dion said, like, oh, are you excited for the Thursday night game? And I, again, was just like, no, Joe Burrow is going to get hurt or something. And then it's my fault. I'm sorry.
Yeah, you really manifested it, man. You threw it into the world, and the world just kind of was like, yep. You know what? That's actually a really good character arc for
I don't like this
for Joe Burrow and the Bengals. It's a good character arc.
Last time he had a season-ending injury, we went to the Super Bowl the next season, though. So let's keep that part.
So what? 20? So you're telling me that you're going to be the 2025 Super Bowl champions? So 2024 season going into February 2025. Yes.
2024 season, yeah. 2025. So not this Super Bowl, the next Super Bowl.
Yeah, because this coming Super Bowl is technically in 2024 for the 2023 season.
2025 Super Bowl champions, Cincinnati Bengals, and Ross Chastain is going to win the NASCAR Cup Championship, and I will be unbearable if that happens. Just a heads up, everyone.
Can anything happen to Pittsburgh? Like, not the Steelers. Can anything nice happen to Pittsburgh?
Well, let's talk about Pittsburgh.
Oh, but you said so. If the Bengals win, and your NASCAR dude wins, like, can something cool happen for Pittsburgh? Can, like, I don't know, can, like, the Penguins do something? What about the Pirates? The Pirates, or like Pitt, Hail to Pitt, right? Or the Pittsburgh Riverhounds, Pittsburgh Thunderbirds.
How about Andrew McCutchen wins MVP?
I don't know if that would be possible, but it would be cool, I guess, because he's very old. That's the only reason why I don't know if that'd be possible.
That would be so crazy. So crazy.
You gotta be so insane. I mean, I feel like yours are a little bit more realistic, because that would mean that.
I am warning everyone in the world right now. If Ross Chastain and the Bengals win championships in the same year, I'm gonna be unstoppable. I don't know
what that means, but okay.
I don't know what it means either, but that's going to be awesome. Nothing's going to get me down, man. That's going to be... let's talk about the Pittsburgh Steelers.
The Cincinnati Steelers, yeah.
Yeah, no, that's not a thing. So, the Pittsburgh Steelers, we've already talked about George Pickens, and we've talked about all the drama with that.
Yep.
We've talked about how he might not be putting the team first in all these situations. And Najee kind of alluded, he didn't say George Pickens, but he was asked, do you think everyone in the locker room has a team first mentality? And he had the opportunity to say yes, but he did not. So let's first talk about that video. What did you think about that video?
I thought it was kind of surprising in a way. I mean, he kind of just pretty much said what we were all thinking. Everybody on Twitter and everybody, whether you were a Steelers fan or not, kind of figured that when it came to either like George Pickens, especially George Pickens. I feel like he's been in the news a lot for not being, it's been like a me first, not like a team first. And so I think with it, like when it came to that, like, me, or it's basically on his terms, it's like me, not we, but it should be we, not me. And I feel like it was what we already knew, but I think by Najee doing that, it kind of just pretty much confirmed what we already kind of knew. So obviously there's some issues in the locker room. Now, we don't know who I mean, we can assume it's Pickens, but is there other people in the locker room? Because it wasn't specified. It wasn't like the reporter said, is George Pickens a me not we or we not me? They said, is the locker room team first? So, and he just did not answer that. So I feel like there's a lot of stuff going on behind the scenes that like Steelers fans and the public eye don't know, because he kind of like really paused and was kind of like, let's just talk about me and like what I did during the game. So, and I mean, people were, I mean, I wouldn't even be surprised if people were like, oh, well, there goes the team like thing. Najee's telling the reporters to talk about how great he is or whatever. I'm sure somebody out there is probably thinking that. They're like, oh, well, Najee just proved that it's a me first, because he was like, let's not talk about them. Let's talk about me. But that is completely out of reach, because Najee's not that type of guy. But I do think that Najee just pretty much confirmed what we already kind of knew when it came to it.
It almost makes me wonder if like you mentioned, he paused before saying that he didn't want to talk about it. I wonder if like there was someone in his mind who popped up when he was asked that. And then he thought about like, am I gonna add to this narrative or not?
Yeah,
and I think made the better decision.
Well, yeah, because if he would have said something that could have really fell hard on him, because, whether it's the teammate that he was going to call out, or maybe it was just the team in general, could have given him less time playing, a whole bunch of other garbage on top of that, might have just caused a lot of controversy. And the problem is there's already a lot of struggles in that locker room right now. The last thing you need is to add more fuel to the fire and do this. And then your morale on that team is going to be like lower than freaking dirt and bones and T-Rex bones. So, yeah, I don't know. It's definitely interesting. I saw the video, you sent it to me, and pretty much your Twitter response to it saying very interesting is how I felt. It was very interesting. I mean, there's really nothing we can like grab with it. It's not like he hinted at anybody, but it does give us the illusion that, yeah, there's some issues in the locker room, which we already know.
We've seen a little bit of that on the sideline now with Deontay Johnson getting into an argument with, because last week it was George Pickens that was having issues. Now Deontay Johnson, who had, I believe, 16 total passing yards, because I had him for 25 plus in my parlay, and that didn't, I think he was 9 yards off.
Yeah.
So I'm pretty sure he only had 16 passing yards. And he's a guy who, coming off injury, just got his first touchdown in the Kenny Pickett era last week, which he's had a ton of injuries, but still, that's kind of crazy to think about.
Yeah.
And then to have a 16-yard game, it's like, what's going on, coach? And I think they got into it. It sounds like Roderick Jones, the rookie offensive tackle, apparently had to pull or like separate Deontay from the coach. So now we've got another issue with another one of our stars, and our rookie is one of the guys having to step in to help our veterans. What do we think about that?
It says a lot. I mean, the problem is I feel like a lot of times in this Steelers team, I feel like it always ends up being the rookies in their first year where they end up being the ones that have the best heart, the ones that are looking out for the team, and the ones that are in the midst of all of these issues and trying to hold those people back. Like, for example, like when Chase Claypool first came to the Steelers, he was great. He was a sweetheart. Like, he was awesome. And then like a year later, he just became completely different. And I don't know what it is that's changing these like players that are becoming, like really good and like really good people. And like, I mean, even Antonio Brown, like, yes, he got hit in the head. That could be a complete, CTE story situation. He even admitted he might have it. But even if it wasn't, like, obviously over time, he changed. Le'Veon Bell changed. A lot of these players, like, seem to change. And, like, even Pickens, like, it didn't take him that long to become, the George Pickens that we know. It took him a couple of weeks last season to do this. And it's like, oh, we're back to this again, George. Yeah, okay. But, like, I mean, I give kudos to Broderick, obviously. I mean, I think he's going to be a stud offensive lineman. as long as we keep him or he doesn't go wonky. Which I hope not, because like I said, I have really high hopes for him. And, I think he played really good. I mean, he was one of the big reasons why Jaylen Warren got that huge 70-some yard touchdown during the beginning of the second half against the Browns on Sunday. He really opened that hole up to get Warren that hole to open it up. But nonetheless, yeah, I really think it's kind of sad, but also with these wide receivers like Deontay Johnson, who has been playing for the Steelers for a couple of years now, I can understand his frustration a little bit, because like obviously when he was playing with Ben and stuff, like he had those yards, but now all of a sudden like he's not getting those yards and stuff. And it might have been one of those things where it's like taking out the frustration on the coach, when I don't know which coach it was that he was getting into an argument with. I didn't see the video or read an article about it. This news is actually new to me. I knew about the Najee video, but I didn't really know about this whole argument thing. It didn't really make wavelengths over on my side of the Steelers social media. So
I don't think it was an argument that he had with Mike Tomlin.
Oh, well, I don't think he would have gone to blows with Mike Tomlin.
He didn't go to blows, but he was getting in his face, and he separated him.
Well, I do think Mike Tomlin does not make the smartest of moves sometimes when it comes to a lot of different things. I've always been one of the people to say when he drafts these first-round picks or like these top picks that are going to be good, he always keeps them on the bench for like weeks. Broderick Jones didn't start until Dan Moore got hurt. Joey Porter Jr. didn't go in, for weeks. Kenny Pickett didn't go in until week 4, because they wanted to throw in Mitch. It was just, it's like he never, and like that's just recent stuff. He can go far back. Like he never starts his, like these first, second round picks like right off the bat. When a lot of these other teams just, they almost have like, they have balls. They need balls. Mike Tomlin does not have balls. And I don't know why. You're playing football. You need balls to like be good. And he's just not. And I don't know why he's like just holding back some of these players. Now, when it comes to Kenny Pickett, that's a whole different discussion. But I do not understand what happened with Kenny Pickett in comparison to last season. We are
going to talk about Kenny Pickett here in a second, and that's probably going to be its own breakout segment because this has been its own discussion. So I have 2 questions.
Yeah, go ahead.
First question is, you mentioned all those players who have had great rookie years, and then they've had time in the NFL, then all of a sudden, which George Pickens has been around the NFL his entire life because his dad, Carl, was in the NFL.
Mm-hmm.
So, but is there something in the Steelers' coaching or their culture that is a me-first personality?
I do think so. I'm not going to lie to you. I'm not huge on Mike Tomlin. I'm really not. I don't care about the winning records. I would rather have 4 losing seasons just so that we can get it figured out instead of winning and going, 9-8 every season and not getting those draft picks and stuff. The problem is like I've noticed over this entire Mike Tomlin era that we've had is like we went to 1 Super Bowl and we went to 2 Super Bowls. We won one of them, and it was pretty much, like a team that he never even built.
Right. Cowher's team.
Yeah, it was Cowher's team. So, like, it wasn't a team that he built. And even when we went in 2011, 2012, like that year, I always get them mixed up because it's like, technically we went, it was the 2008 season, but it was the Super Bowl of 2009. It's like, it's always like, it's a weird thing or something like that. It's always wonky. So, like, nonetheless, like, when we went to that Super Bowl and lost to Green Bay, like, after that, it was just always uphill. We had an incredible offense and just not a good defense. And then it just like, we would always just fall apart to the Patriots in the playoffs. And then like, as time moved on, it was always dumb teams. Jacksonville, we lost to Tim Tebow's Broncos team in the playoffs. Like, well, I love Tim Tebow, but like, still like, how do you lose to the Tim Tebow's Broncos? That was just, it's ridiculous. And like, I don't know what it is, but I think it is Mike Tomlin, but the problem is like we're stuck with him because this Art Rooney and like the Rooneys will not part with him. because they like the coaching idea, where they've had 3 coaches over the course of 50 or 60 years, whereas a lot of other teams and franchises have gone through numerous amounts of head coaches over those 50 years. They like that idea. They like that Mike Tomlin is a motivator. And yes, he does motivate his team to win games, but it hasn't been enough to get us to these, high points. Granted, yes, we might not have had the greatest offense, over these couple of years, but this year, we have the defense. If our offense could just even get a little bit going, we would be a pretty okay team. I mean, we're shutting down teams, the Browns only put up 13 points, there's teams that we're shutting down. Obviously, we got blown out by 2 of them, like San Francisco and Houston, but still, there are teams that we are shutting down on defense. And there's been times even way back when, 2019, that year that it was Mason Rudolph and it was Devlin Hodges and stuff. We had a solid defense. Granted, we weren't going to make playoffs, but it's one of those things where it's we have team pieces. It's just we're not utilizing them. And then when the roles were reversed and we had, Big Ben and AB and Le'Veon Bell and those killer bees and just that crazy offense in 2017 and those years, it's just how can you fall so short? How do you let that happen? And I just don't understand. So I think it's a Mike Tomlin problem, and I don't think they're going to part with him though.
So, I mean, I'd agree with you. That was kind of why I worded the question the way I did. I think Mike Tomlin does have an issue culturally. But, Steelers are a very loyal organization, and they're going to keep bringing in the money because the fans are going to keep showing up to the games, especially with these winning records.
Yep.
So, there's no real reason to fire Mike Tomlin. Unless
the problem is they're not going to, because like I said, he hasn't had a losing record his entire career, and the only way that they would probably fire him is if he consecutively has losing seasons, or if he decides to finally retire. I think that I really think that they should consider cleaning house when it comes to it, because it's just, you're not working. You're supposed to be this powerhouse Steelers team, but you just aren't winning the big games. You haven't gone to the Super Bowl. You had these stellar teams, and you just fell short to a not so great Patriots team. The Patriots were good, but they were 10-6 good, and we were 13-3. We shouldn't have lost to that Patriots team, and we did. It doesn't make any sense to me. And so when it comes to Mike Tomlin, I do think that over time, yes, he's winning and all of that, but if you want that winning culture, of actually winning trophies and winning championships and stuff, you got to let him go. But they won't. And I do think that's causing a lot of the player issues too, is the cultures, because it's a lot of, me, not we. And I think that is the biggest flaw in that, roster organization right now.
Well, now it's time for the new segment. And this is the segment that Chus did not want to talk about. He didn't enjoy the last one, I'm sure, but this is the one where he was just, I texted him about it and he said he didn't want to talk about it, but I'm going to make him talk about it. Because I think he can offer insights here. And we're sticking with the Steelers. Their offensive leader, Kenny Pickett, first quarterback drafted in his draft class, went to the University of Pittsburgh, was a huge star. Pittsburgh loved him. I know you love him. And now there's wonders, is this not the guy? Is he not the franchise guy? So to give you some stats to work with, I've already sent you a few of these, but yesterday, Tommy DeVito, the rookie third-string quarterback for the New York Giants, threw 3 touchdowns in one game. Kenny Pickett has thrown 2 touchdowns in his last 7 games. So, another one with Tommy DeVito, who just starting last week. Tommy DeVito now has more career games with multiple passing touchdowns than Kenny Pickett. Kenny Pickett passing touchdowns, 6. Dallas Cowboys defensive special teams touchdowns, Also 6. Notable quarterbacks with more passing touchdowns than Kenny Pickett since the start of last season. Davis Mills, 17. He's now the backup in Houston. Marcus Mariota, 15. He has not attempted a pass this season. Matt Ryan, 14, is in the broadcast booth this season. 315 quarterbacks have 500 pass attempts since the merger. Only one has thrown a touchdown on fewer than 2% of his attempts. Kenny Pickett. So, well, listening to those stats, what do you think first? What's your reaction to that?
That's unfortunate. I don't know what else you want me to say. So,
I'm not doing this to like torture you because
you are torturing me. That's why I
know I
didn't
am
want to talk
torturing you.
about
But
this.
that is not my goal. My goal, as I smile, but my goal is not to torture you.
Keep going.
Do you think that Kenny Pickett is the answer for the Steelers franchise?
I honestly hope he goes somewhere else.
What do you mean by that?
I truly believe that if he's not in this organization, he will do well.
Okay. So what?
And
okay. What? Finish your.
I was just gonna say, I don't think. First of all, everyone's gonna, I really truly believe that I want to see what he would do under completely different coaching.
Okay.
Not even Mike Tomlin, like offensive coordinating. Like a lot of people are like always blaming Matt Canada, but now they're blaming Kenny. The problem is like last season, he was very confident in his place. He was consistently getting to those things. Granted, he hadn't thrown a touchdown and stuff, but like this season, I don't know what's happening, but like he is not confident at all.
Mm-hmm.
If you look at his stats from last season, there was a game against Buffalo where he threw 350 yards.
Mm-hmm.
No touchdowns, no interceptions. It was a bad game. It was like 35-3. We got blown out by Buffalo, but like I really believe that he can be good somewhere else. And honestly, I mean, the one thing I do also know about Pittsburgh, like the Pittsburgh organization, is that they sometimes listen to the fans. And by that, I mean, they were really pushing for Kenny Pickett to go in. And sure enough, they did put Kenny Pickett in. Now, Kenny Pickett isn't doing well. If they bench him, the problem is would you rather have Mitchell Trubisky in Pittsburgh? Would you rather have him in there? I personally would rather have Mason Rudolph in there if we had to bench Kenny. But the problem that I have is at this point, I don't even know if, like, I just think it's a complete offensive failure. Like, I don't even know if it's just Kenny Pickett himself or if it's just the entire team, because we've already talked about morale. And like George Pickens is unhappy, Deontay Johnson's unhappy, Najee was not getting going until Broderick Jones went out there, and now he's actually running up the middle and getting holes open with Warren. So I feel like there's a lot of offensive issues, and that would probably lean on the coordinator. If you had a new coordinator, maybe that'll say a lot, because then at that point next year, if you have a new coordinator, then you'll be able to figure it out. Like, oh, Kenny Pickett just threw 4 interceptions in his first game with his new coordinator. He stinks. Okay, well then, yeah, at that point, put in somebody else. But the problem is this whole entire season we've been saying, Matt Canada. Well, the problem is I saw it even like you don't know who's calling these plays, but like whoever's genius idea it was to throw a check down to Jalen Warren whenever there was 3 guys waiting for him on the left-hand sideline is the biggest idiot ever. Like, these are high school plays. No wonder the defense can rip them up, because it's easy. But the problem is at this point, I would love for Kenny to go somewhere else just to prove them wrong, more or less. Because I think Pittsburgh needs humbled. I really do. I think my city needs humbled right now.
I agree.
I think we need humbled. I think we need to move Kenny along, and then have him go to like a New England, or have him go to Cleveland, have him do great, and bring in like Caleb Williams or something like that, because he's not going to get drafted as high as he initially thinks. I don't. I don't know, because Caleb Williams was supposed to go 1, but then since he got hurt, he like dropped low in the Heisman watch. I don't know if he's going to go number 1 anymore. There's a lot of good quarterbacks that could come out this year, including like Jaden Daniels, as I had mentioned and stuff. But I would love for us to like draft another quarterback or like have to run with Mitch, and then for like 5 years we just suck. And then like Kenny Pickett goes to like, bunch of playoff runs and stuff like that. Because I truly believe that we are also like, I don't know what it is, but it feels like on the outside, like looking at like, because we talked about, there's an organization, like not organization. There is a problem inside the locker room. There is toxicity. There's a lot happening in the locker room. But outside, it's the same way. Mm-hmm. So the fans are the same way. Fire Pickett, or not fire Pickett. Bench Pickett. Fire Canada. Fire Tomlin. This guy sucks. That guy sucks. Trade this guy. Trade him. Get rid of him. Drop this dude. These players look at that.
Right.
Yeah, you even mentioned it that what was it? There was a guy that was like looking at his stats last year. He went on his phone. Was like looking at his sack.
Oh, TJ Watt.
Yeah, TJ Watt. Yeah. So I thought it was TJ, but for some reason I was getting Logan Wilson confused with that. But it makes you like think that it's like, obviously at some point they got to hear the noise. Mm-hmm. And you got to believe that that's not building correctly on their character.
For sure.
So
you finished.
No, I was just going to say like, and obviously like you saw how everybody was believing in Kenny and how he was looking promising. And then they stopped believing in the offense, and now they stopped believing in Pickett. Mm-hmm. And now you can see the decline. Now, granted, he did have a rib injury a couple weeks ago, but I don't know. I mean, do I think he's the answer? I guess we would pretty much find out next year when we actually have an offensive coordinator. And at that point, if he doesn't, well then, yeah, he's probably not the answer. But I think right now we're jumping the gun way too soon because of the coordinators and stuff. But if they want to go draft Jaden Daniels and then go trade Kenny Pickett away, I hope he shines, brother. I hope he shines.
Going back to kind of Mike Tomlin though. Like, I think no one is asking or has pointed out that I've seen, to my knowledge, this is the first time Mike Tomlin has had to set up a team or a rookie franchise quarterback.
That is true. He's only ever worked with Ben.
He had Ben Roethlisberger his entire career. He had Mason Rudolph for injuries, and they had Mitch as a backup, and he started Kenny's rookie year, but he started in Chicago. This is the first time Mike Tomlin has had a fresh NFL quarterback, face of the franchise guy, first round pick. And maybe that's part of it. Maybe Mike doesn't know how to develop a quarterback, or he doesn't know how to find the guys who know how to develop a quarterback. And people are always going to blame the player because they're the ones out there. They're the faces of the team. But part of it does fall on the coaches as well. And you've alluded to that, and I think a very well put way that was insightful, that Mike Tomlin might be the issue that no one wants to admit to. And I wonder if part of that is the reason Kenny Pickett hasn't been successful. People have been saying that there's been no flashes of light that they've seen from Kenny Pickett. He's just this he's just bad. Have there been flashes of light for you as a fan that you've liked?
Well, I mean, one that's like thinking like for this season or like last season
at all,
or just in general.
Because people are saying,
I mean, last season, yeah. I mean, you think about everybody was those same people that are commenting those comment sections right now saying I've never seen a flash of light from Kenny Pickett are the same ones that were saying last season in Kenny We Trust when he threw those back-to-back game-winning touchdowns. So, I saw flashes of light through that. And then also this season, when he threw that deep bomb to Calvin Austin III, I really thought that during the Raiders game, granted it was against the Raiders, but like now the Raiders actually have things figured out. So it makes you wonder, like, oh, was that team just trying to figure it out? Like, were they actually like pretty good and they were just figuring it out? Like, it's one of those things, but like he threw that deep long bomb to Calvin Austin III. I'm like, that's the type of Pickett that I missed. Like, where was that Pickett? Mm-hmm. Why was he not throwing that? But like, yeah, I disagree with them. I do see flashes of light promise from Kenny Pickett. I don't think he's just some like random just vegetable out there. I mean, I do think that he lacks confidence. And I think the reason he lacks confidence is just because of what is around him. And I don't think, because obviously George Pickens doesn't believe in him. There's a lot of players that probably don't believe in him, including the fans. It's a bad place to be. He probably, honestly, would have been better off being drafted anywhere else. And maybe we could have tortured Malik Willis a little bit more. And I wish that I never said that because I love Kenny Pickett in Pittsburgh, but I'm sure this is probably horrible for him right now. And and those people that are listening right now, you are the reason why.
No, what are you gonna say?
No, go ahead.
No, you have always been very passionate about Kenny Pickett. Kenny Pickett was one of the few college players that I knew the name, because again, I don't follow college as much. Kenny Pickett is one of the few college players I know of. He is one of 2 quarterbacks I can name who went to Pitt. The other is Dan Marino, because I don't follow Pitt at all.
Wait, you're telling me? I guess you wouldn't know who that is. I was gonna mention
who?
Van Fleet.
Last name sounds familiar.
Let me get.
Greta Van Fleet.
No, not the rock band. I hope not the rock band.
But no, you have been very passionate about Kenny Pickett his entire career. You loved Kenny Pickett. He was your Joe Burrow. He was your savior in a lot of ways when he was at Pitt. And I think you were very excited when the Steelers got him. And now it sounds like you're like
not Van Fleet. It was Van Pelt.
Oh, Scott Van Pelt?
Yeah, the coordinator for No, the guy that coordinates for the Browns. Alex Van Pelt.
Oh, no, I don't know who that is.
He played at Pitt.
I thought you were telling me the host of Sports Center went to the.
Yeah, Alex Van Pelt was. I'm almost positive he was a quarterback.
Apparently, he previously served as an assistant coach for the Bengals too.
Oh.
Well,
Van Pelt attended the University of Pittsburgh, where he was quarterback for the Panthers. When he graduated, Van Pelt held school passing records previously set by Dan Marino.
See, that shows how much my University of Pittsburgh knowledge is. But I knew who Kenny Pickett was because of Chus, because he loves Kenny Pickett. And so to hear him say he wishes the Steelers never drafted him now because he wants Kenny to have success somewhere else, that one hurts me in my heart.
Yeah.
Because that's
that was me and my friend had this discussion, and I wanted him on the show at some point, but like that was a couple months ago, and our schedules have changed a lot. But my friend and I, who are both very big Pitt fans, we talked about this when he got drafted, and we said that this could be the make or break for Kenny, because it's going to be the fans love that he's here, but as soon as he does bad, if he does bad, they're going to turn on him. And they're going to ruin him. The only reason that they didn't ruin Ben was because Ben had the confidence. He went in immediately and was 15-1, and then everybody just loved Big Ben. Like, he was just the greatest thing ever since sliced bread. And so, and then obviously he won 2 Super Bowls, and then from there, anytime people were like, "Oh, Ben sucks," you knew that he was like, "I don't care. I have 2 rings. We're good." The problem is Pickett, everyone's saying, is like dog water and trash and stuff like that. I mean, people are literally saying that they would rather have Mac Jones than Pickett. I'm like, that's not going to change anything. I feel like the problem is the offense too. Like, the offense isn't moving, the offense ain't changing. So you throwing in a different quarterback isn't going to make anything different. You throw in Mitch Trubisky, it's probably going to be the same offense. You throw Mason Rudolph in there, it's going to be the same offense. It doesn't matter who you throw in there at this point. Next year, I feel like we'll see a lot. I've been saying that. Nobody believes me. But yes, I do believe that he would go somewhere else, because I feel like he would find success somewhere else. And then all of the Steelers fans will rejoice. And then Mitchell Trubisky will start next year. And then they'll get what they wanted.
Do you think Matt Canada will actually get fired this year?
Not this year, no. Once the season ends, I think he'll probably get fired going into the draft.
That's what I mean. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I do. I mean, they're not necessarily going to fire him. They're just going to let him go because his contract ends this year. So they're just going to let him go. So that's why they just didn't. They didn't want to fire him and have to pay him. That was the whole thing. So
maybe they'll extend him to a record-breaking deal for an offensive coordinator.
Yeah, and then I don't know if I could be a Steelers fan after that.
Come to the Bengals.
Yeah, I mean, well, if Kenny Pickett's there, if Kenny Pickett serves as your backup, maybe.
I'd be okay with it. I wouldn't be mad about that. Let's see how Jake does, but...
Listen, I mean, like I said, I think that he can be good. I just, it does hurt my soul that I had to say it, but I don't think, I honestly, if Kenny Pickett doesn't end up being the answer, I really just, I think that the Steelers need some time. I think it's just like the Patriots right now. The Patriots are being very much humbled right now. Those Patriots fans right now are very quiet. I think the Steelers fans need to be quiet too, and that's coming from a Steelers fan.
The ones I've talked to are still, the Patriots fans I've talked to are still cocky. They're like, "Oh, we have all the rings already. You can't talk to us." I'm like, dude, just like, the Bengals are better than the Patriots right now. Let's not.
Yeah, but they're still humbled. I mean, they're trying to figure out if Bill Belichick's even still relevant. You know, it's tough, but you know, it hurts my heart, man. I love Kenny Pickett. I've talked to the guy; he's a good guy. So
good guy.
I like Kenny a lot. I mean, him and Ben are one in the same. Him and Ben though are one in the same. They both are not the best actors, but I do still love my boy Kenny. He's a good guy.
Let's get Kenny on the show. Let's ask him these questions.
I would love to have him on the show, but I'm sure that a lot of people those damn Steeler fans would probably go in the comment section talking about how he's only thrown 100 yards passing instead of actually getting to hear about Kenny Pickett, the life that he had in New Jersey, and just what kind of guy he was back then. You know, like what was, you know, his big success story at Pitt? Like what was your biggest highlight at Pitt? Like these are the questions I would ask Kenny, and then they would be like, why don't you throw touchdowns during games? Like, shut up, comments. Like, I would save him from having to deal with any interviews right now because Steelers Nation sucks.
Make sure to comment below. Make sure to comment what you think about Kenny Pickett. Chus will be responding to all Kenny Pickett related comments.
I mean, and also with one thing though, I will say this, and it does kind of worry me though, just a little bit. It took Kenny Pickett almost 5 years before he had his breakout season in college. So yes, that does worry me because by the time that 5th year does roll around, I don't think Kenny Pickett would be starting. If it's going to take him that long to develop, would be 5 years. Let's go based on college level. That's 2020 because he started in 22, so it's going to be 27 almost.
That's his whole rookie contract with the 5th year option.
Yeah. So I don't know how to feel about that. So if they, but I would hope that it wouldn't take him that long. And I did see glimmers of hope before. I just don't know where these passes are being thrown and everything like that. And I just I don't know what's happening. I feel like people also they just don't know the playbook. That was another video. Najee Harris, somebody said like they understand the offense, and he was like, no. That was in the same interview. That same interview, he was like, I'll see. My buddy sent it to me. I'm gonna see if I can find it real quick. Is there anything else we had to talk about on the show today?
I mean, not really. We kind of just have been hammering the Steelers. I saw Travis Kelce might retire though. That's kind of interesting. He started dating a billionaire, and so all of a sudden he's like,
oh yeah, NFL and CBS posted this. Najee Harris, when asked if teams know what the Steelers play calls are. So, like, I feel like that was not what I was, like, reverting to at all, but, like, because I thought that's what it was. Because, like, I was referring to, like, I don't think the team knows the offense, which is probably true, but they asked him if they know what the play calls was, and Najee just didn't know how to respond to that. That was what the video was. I thought it was something completely different. But,
do you think Travis Kelce retires?
Yeah, because they're going to win the Super Bowl this year.
No, they're not. Go Lions. Go Colts. Go Bengals.
It's the fairy tale story. Taylor Swift and the Kansas City Chiefs taking on whoever.
If the NFL is scripted, I hate the script because this was a stupid script this year. Terrible, awful
Terrible.
script.
Well, absolutely terrible. And then Kansas City will be back-to-back Super Bowl
They were
champions.
literally like, let us injure every quarterback. There's like 10 teams that haven't
Travis
used the
Kelce,
backfield.
and they can have the perfect sunset ending to his career. He'll win on a Super Bowl, and him and Travis Kelce, him and Taylor Swift can go off into the sunset, together.
I hate that. I hope MCDC and the Lions would put an end to that.
I really hope so too. But that's, I do think, though, I think he will be retiring very, very soon. Maybe not this year unless they win a ring again, but I wouldn't be surprised if like last year was like he announced that it was like his last season. I feel like Travis Kelce, the type of guy to like not make it a surprise. He's just going to be like, this is my last season, guys. And then just like all the, like everyone's like, I want to see Travis Kelce's last games. And then they're just like always just like honoring him during it. I feel like he's like, it's not, I'm not saying that's like a bad thing to have a character about, because like Ben Roethlisberger kind of like pretty much alluded the entire year that it was his last year back in 2021. But like, I feel like Travis Kelce will probably do the same thing.
I feel like Travis Kelce is also the type of guy, though, to like the inside reporters be like, hey, are you going to show up at practice? You haven't been there in 3 weeks. And he's like, oh, yeah, I forgot. I'm retired.
Yeah. Yeah, probably.
Not tell anyone.
Yeah. But yeah, Travis Kelce. Yeah, we've been hammering the Steelers this episode. There's a lot of issues I have with them, obviously.
A lot of heartbreak.
I'm very sad. I'm very sad, and I knew this was coming. I knew that they were going to turn on him, and me and my friend were very concerned that it was going to happen. And now everyone that I know is like turning on him, and I'm like, oh man, this is just very unfortunate. So,
well, that was a sad but necessary episode of No Buts About It.
And the only quarterback that I would be okay with starting over him would be Jaden Daniels for the Madden lore.
Here, wait, I'm not sure.
The Madden lore. Because hear me out. Some of these Madden guys, Jordan Battle, Kyle Hamilton, and now coming up, Brew McCoy and Jaden Daniels.
What position does Brew McCoy play?
Wide receiver.
He's a Bengal.
University 10. No, please don't. Please don't.
He's a Brown.
No. I would say Seahawk because I drafted Brew McCoy, but I ended up letting him go. But Brew McCoy, Jaden Daniels would just be funny for the lore. But I don't think I would be okay with anybody else as of right now, because I feel like it'd be just way too premature. Because, I mean, the Patriots haven't given up on Mac Jones yet. We'll see, though. Next week might be Zappy era. We'll see. But
hour. The best hour is Zappy hour.
But yeah, and then you'll have to start adding the zap noise after every time you say it again.
Yep. Real ones know what he's talking about.
Yeah, real ones know what I'm talking about. But yeah, so I think that'd be the only guy I'm okay with as of right now, because I feel like anything else would just be very sad for me, and I'll probably just like be just sad. Because like the reason is because I need to be invested in a quarterback. Okay. I don't know if any of these other, like if we had like a Caleb Williams, I don't know if I would feel the same investment that I do in like Kenny Pickett. That's why I'm so passionate about it. But if like Jaden Daniels came to the team, I feel like I'd have passion about it. But if it was a player like Kirk Cousins, I would be like, I just wouldn't understand. I'd be like, why? And then I probably just would like just be like disinterested. I need to be invested. I was invested in Big Ben. I'm invested in Pickett. I was never invested in Trubisky. I was invested in Rudolph. Like, I got to be invested. If I'm not invested, I'm not going to watch. That's the problem.
Can I end the show?
Sure, yeah.
Okay. This has been a very emotional episode of No Buts About It for Chus. Thank you for listening to today's show. If you enjoyed, please remember to like, comment, and subscribe. We can be found anywhere you listen to podcasts and on and on YouTube at No Butt Show. Our social media pages are No Butts _ show on Instagram and No Butt Show on TikTok. My Twitter is John.
Are you alluding that we're gonna make a website? You're like, you can find us anywhere on No Butts. I mean,
there is technically a website. I just don't share it. I don't even know if it's still up. Actually, I had to make it for my senior thesis. But anyway,
don't say that. People are gonna find us.
Instagram and No Butts Show on TikTok. My Twitter is Josh_Butts_2001. If you would like to reach us, you can email us at bullmoosepodcast2. That's the number 2 at gmail.com. Finally, our spread shop will be in the description, so check out the merch. Once again, if you enjoyed today's show, like, comment, and subscribe. Be nice to Chus down in the comments section. Until next time, go do something nice for someone.